Hey people, I was looking at number 6 in the Latin and I hit the Google translator here and it changed numbers into is it. I don't know why it did that. Maybe it'll come to me. It changed the book of Numbers when I did that. And so in the last movie I was looking at numbers 6:17 in the Greek and the Hebrew, and I thought I'd look at it here in the Latin because it appeared to be talking about Azazel in the Greek and the Hebrew, but it seemed like they just didn't want to use the name. So I thought I'd check and see if they use it in Latin. And in here, it looks like it's trying to go all the way around, dance around without saying it here too. So I put all three side by side, and I put some color coding on them to help catch some things. But this plainly here says, "Aquests ex more," to search out more, of debentur. It's where the word debt comes from, or debenture. There are owing, pay your bills, coming from the Latin, there are owing. And their drink offerings, this plainly says, and liba menta, and free your mind, menta, thoughts, mind, and liba, freedom, and free your mind to quest, to search, ex more, out more, to quest out more debts. And so that's what's going on with the Azazel. You know, you put all your problems, put all your old debts on the ram, set him on fire, run him off into the mountains, and those are no longer your problems. And it's el libamenta, and free your mind to quest out more debts. And this is how they'll try to force a meaning on their drink offerings somehow from a libamenta and according to their ordinance. And so they're getting this according to from the quests. And this to thee, they're coming out with this ex more, which is definitely X is out of, as they usually give it. Exodus, the out of, and out more, and search out more debt. So here in this Latin, this Harriettum, back before the church outlawed astrology, this meant the head. That was Aries, having to do with the head. And so this is more as the head from where, the Harriettum vero, the head from where immolavit. And this is what they say is a molar. This is your bottom jaw, your molar. It's where they say meal comes from, immolavit. And it tails off in the Hebrew and the Greek up here. You can see that it's what? It's the determinative of the ram. So it's not saying the ram, it's saying the meaning. The connected knowledge writings, W-A-T. The determinative, what it means. Hail, Jose. And it's an ancient Egyptian symbol. It's just the handle of a paintbrush. It means, what you grab a hold of. If your hand's on that, that's your job. That's what you are. And the Greek, you see the same thing here. It's still different, but the key is the vav, the what on, cryon. It's still talking about a determinative. This word, saying this word is going to determine the meaning of the words following. And so this is Harriettum, the head from whereof immolavit, to mill of it, to chew on it, to think about this. In Harriettum whereof chew on it, in the mind where chew on of it. The hostum of pacify. They say this is pass is peace, and ifake is creation, peace creation, or to pacify them, give them what they want, and the hostum, the pacify, domino, the Lord of pacification, Azazel. And offerings simul, at the same time offering a canistrum azimorum. And I'm going to bet that's a term for, the unleavened, the rising, to burn it. But you see, this is the word, the azimorum, where they hide Azazel in it in the Greek, backwards and forwards. The nome, the law was azamon. I believe it's, to write it out and burn it, the canistrum asimorum, and offering the same time, the canistrum asimorum, and libitamenta, and free your mind to quest out more, more a debenture.
Debenture.
Search out more debt. Harietum vero, in the head whereof chew on it. Hostum pacify cum domino. Come the Lord of the pacification. And offering simul canistrum asimorum. That might be a smoke canister. They might be blowing smoke up your ass. And libamenta, and free the mind to quest out more debenture. Over here in the Hebrew, it says, what the determinative. I just recently learned that this is reading as a DE instead of a WA, but either way it means the same thing. It's determinative. It's what. And backwards and forwards, this IA reading is a U, and the AE reading is a S. It's the Lu. And what to, and then SAIL, and what to sail a Jose's bitch. To send out Jose's bitch. And Jose is the most common name in the world. Jose, if you're French, you pronounce that Josie or Josie, CH. And the Dutch use it. And if you're Hebrew, it's where Joseph comes from. And they'll say it's a name meaning God will add or He will increase. So it possibly just means, not full grown, still young and growing. And, from looking at the Greek, God means knowledge, thought. Was, your mind will add. You will learn. So, just not full grown yet. And so a LU, a Lu is the helper. And what Lu and what the helper to sail Jose's bitch. All through the Hebrew, they said the OSC is the base word for the works and creation and what he did. And you see the same thing opposite over here, shall make. The fees, created, made. So it's supposed to be your work, your customers. You're the doctor, and this is the one that you want to get better. He's gonna get better. He's gonna heal. The pay and what a loose sale, what to send out Jose's, the patient's bitch, his complaints. The Jose's bitches, lend to you alls, limits what? Wash the can, WOSH, and wash the can at an attend, UTEN, attendum, the bathroom attendant, and wash the can at attendum in it. What the determinative determine in you see us. This is us, things that happens at night. You see us sins, SNS, and coup is together, and us sins together. It's drink offering. What loose sail Jose's bitches lend to you all's the limits what wash the can at attendum backwards and forwards, at attendum in it what us sins coup, what us sins together. So it sounds like Jose's the patient, the psychology patient, and he's going to put his problems on this ram and set it afire and send it off into the jungle. And what loose sail is Jose's bitch. And then in the Greek, it was what on, the determinative on, the cryon. A cryon feastitution, a feastitution, to cry on. So this would be changing the place with the bitch, the sacrifice, what they crying about. And what on cryon feastitution, so there you to cure, so there to get you yours back, so there you to cure. And I believe that word is here in this hostum pacify, to bring them some pacification. And what on cryon feastitution, so there you to cure. If he took on it Enium was Azamon. The O-N and double N rings a Y. The N-E-O-M. The any of them was Azamon. And the fees he roostentution. What toot of, what shaped of, what inspond in, what shaped of, what toot of, what shaped of. Backwards and forwards, these words starting with the A, the Noma, the law, Azazel's law. And it looks here like the Latin, backwards. The morum is asimorum. And the morum is asimorum. That's the laws. The more you feed the poor people, the more poor people are going to come to your town. The more soup kitchens you have, the more homeless problems you're going to have. Where this was, iffy to the can, to throw it out in the bin, to the can it, and to any, O-N-Y. Enium was Azamon. Anybody could have this. You don't have to pay for it. You can have a lot of broke people coming in your town. You want to cure homelessness in your town? Remove all the homeless shelters. They'll just move to another town. And if he took on it, Enium was Azamon. A fees that he, the O-I reading as E. He a roostin, like a restitution, a roostentution, that he roost and he raise in a tuition. And I imagine that come from an old word meaning more like an organization, a tuition. Making fun of the church and their bread pan. He roostentution. What toot of, what shaped of, what in a spawned in. The spawn, all the children, what, W-O-T and a V-A reading as a T-E-W, shaped of, what toot of. What the priest is formed, the spawn will follow. The law of a simo together, a canistrum asimorum. So I'm sure I told you a couple movies ago that this whole chapter here, it was called the Law of the Nazarite. You see it in the next line here, the Nazarhus. And this whole chapter goes on explaining what the Nazar means in the Hebrew. But this is the only time it talks about in the Bible, the Nazarite. There's only two things that came out of Nazareth, and that's this sacrificial goat and Jesus. And the reason is, when you read it backwards, it's the risen, R-I-Z-N, arisen. And the risen, the Nazar. And so it was all ancient part of the story, Either Jesus is from Nazareth because he was risen, or Jesus was risen because he was from Nazareth. So I ain't never looked into who wrote the King James. Who wants to take responsibility for the authorship? And I imagine they wouldn't want their name on it. But I'm going to cut this off here. A good day.